pretty ordinary guy with a very fast growing business because of two reasons. One, I saw the potential there was on LinkedIn, and two, I capitalized on it. Now, we're with some of the most well-known brands on the planet. You have 20 staff, we did 27 million impressions for clients last year, and this year we will do £1 million in sales directly through LinkedIn. That is what the untapped potential of LinkedIn looks like in 2026. And in this video, I'm going to show you the full step-by-step process we use to build a sales engine for LinkedIn. But we're not going to go over some content hooks or tips and tricks to go viral, because that is not what it takes to drive sales through LinkedIn. You need a sales engine, and that is what we're going to go through in this video. But our journey wasn't always like this. In 2022, when we first started posting on LinkedIn, we got a couple of likes and comments, but we really struggled to drive new business. In 2023, we figured out the content game and we got millions of impressions, but we were fully reliant on inbound into the business, which made it a nightmare to track anything or drive any growth. By 2024, things started to click and we rapidly grew, and then in 2025, we did over $1 million in revenue. In 2026, we'll do $1 million in sales just through LinkedIn alone. And it's all because we follow this system that we call the LinkedIn pyramid. And there are 4 layers to it. In layer 1, it's positioning. In layer 2 is content. Layer 3 is outreach, and layer 4 is ads. We're going to go through every single layer of the pyramid in this video. I'm going to break down the key things you need to do at each stage and when you need to activate on the next layer of it. This is how you win on LinkedIn in 2026. The key part to winning on LinkedIn is going through each step of the pyramid strategic. So many people jump to layer 2 and post content, or layer 4 and do ads, which is bonkers, without doing layer 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. And I would like to start with layer 1, which is positioning. Now, there are 3 things I always focus on with positioning. The first thing is clearly communicating who you work with, what you do for them, and the outcome you provide for them. The easiest way to do this is through your LinkedIn profile. So there's a couple opportunities to make this really, really clear. The first one and the most simple is your headline. And in that headline on LinkedIn, what we're focusing on is clarity. People try and be clever and they want to show, how great they were, or like big words, and they try to make things differentiate and stand out. The most important thing is that it's clear the outcome you provide and who you provide it for. Nothing else matters. Doesn't matter how clever it looks, doesn't matter how different it is. There's no point differentiating if no one understands what you do. You have to get that headline right. The next thing is your banner. The 2 things I often focus on with the banner is, again, clarity, clear on the outcome, clear on who you provide the outcome for, but also you want to have a bit of a flair there from a design perspective to show the type of business you are. If you want to show you're very technical, have a more technically designed banner to show that. If you want to show you're creative, have a more creative design to a banner as well. And I'll show some examples on the screen as we go through this. And that clarity I'm talking about comes from your personal profiles, your employee profiles, and your company page. And that's something that a lot of people get wrong. One of the biggest issues I see when it comes to positioning is people separate their company page from their personal pages or their employee pages. So they might put all their focus on getting the positioning right on the company page, but what actually happens is then all the employees have different messages on there, which make it so confusing from a prospect perspective. Imagine I came across your CMO's post and they say that you do fractional accounting, and then I come across your company page and it says you help me save money on taxes. Then I come across the CEO's page and it has a different message. That is so messy. So when you're thinking about positioning, like I said, we always focus on clarity, but clarity comes from an approach that floods across all the LinkedIn profiles. You need to mirror on the company page and the personal profiles, the employee profiles as well. I mean, the last thing isn't really positioning, but I think it's worth mentioning at this stage of the video, is turning your LinkedIn profile into a landing page. A lot of people talk about this. I think it is really, really key. You want to see your LinkedIn profile as if it's a link to a landing page. And if you could send this to a prospect and they wouldn't close, your LinkedIn profile probably isn't great. And that applies to your company page and your personal page as well. So what you want to be thinking about is, if I was a prospect, I'd never heard of the business, what would they need to know when they come across that page? And use every section to do it. Use your about section to tell the company story and let them know the people you help and how you do it. Let your headline be really clear on the outcome you provide and the service you provide as well, or the products you have. Let your banner show the quality that you provide and also what you do and who you work with. You have to use every single section of that profile. And once you've done that, once you've done all the positioning, you're happy with your profile, you've got real clarity, you've given the social proof, then you can move on to layer 2 of the pyramid. Layer 2 is content. Now, a lot of people get content wrong on LinkedIn, and the main reason they get it wrong is because they take advice from gurus selling courses on how to write LinkedIn content rather than people who are making a shit ton of money on LinkedIn. I like to look at the latter, because those are people who know what they are doing. And generally speaking, those people that know what they're doing focus on 3 types of content. Number 1 is storytelling. So they'll tell their personal story, their founder story, and they'll also tell their company story. Those are the 2 key stories. And the reason this is so important is because LinkedIn is naturally a networking platform. It's meant to be for human-to-human interactions. So they don't want to focus on just selling or talking about your product features. A key part of it is just letting people know you're human, the journey you've been on, letting them relate to that, and letting them get invested in your story. So they start with stories. A really simple thing to do as a founder is just share your journey so far. What's happened over the last 10, 15, 20 years? How did you get to where you are today? Tell the company story. What was the origin story of why the company started? Where has it got to today? What are the things you're tackling right now in the company? Those are key things that will get people invested in the brand. And then the second thing is thought leadership content. I think that's a bit of a buzzword nowadays, is thought leadership. When I think about thought leadership, I think of it as like just showing your expertise in your industry. So for me, for example, well, I run UK's #1 LinkedIn marketing agency. I need to be posting content that's top level around LinkedIn, sharing the strategies people use, the tactics we use, what's working, what's not working, reporting on changes to the platform. These are all key for showing my expertise and becoming the go-to person when it comes to marketing on LinkedIn. And you have to do the same for your industry. People who do this great are like Jake Ward with SEO. He doesn't necessarily share as much of his story as I probably think he should do, but what he does do is share great thought leadership content around SEO. And there's a reason that some of the biggest SaaS companies in the world now go and work with his company Contact, because Jake has established himself as a thought leader in the SEO space. And you also have to remember, which I think is key when it comes to content, is people don't buy from the companies that are the best at the service. People buy from the companies they see. If I go on LinkedIn, I see Jake Ward, I see Contact all the time. And when I think of SEO, I think of Contact before I think of any other SEO agency, and that's why they win so much business. When it comes to content though, do not optimize for impressions and likes. You want to optimize for conversations started. The biggest green light that you're posting the right type of content is you're either getting people starting conversations in the comments, asking questions, or two, you're getting people literally DM you and start conversations off the back of your post. Like, oh, I saw that post, really interesting. Or I saw that post, would love to hear how you do it. Or would love to work with you. That is what you're optimizing for. Throughout this entire pyramid, you optimize for conversations. I don't want to hear anyone telling me they're optimizing for 50,000, 100,000 impressions. Impressions mean nothing. The biggest green flag is conversation started. People that win on LinkedIn optimize for conversations. Then if you've nailed layer 2, if you're getting conversations in through content, if your positioning is right, then you can move on to layer 3, which is outreach. And outreach is simply starting conversations at scale. And there were 3 things that I focus on with this. The first thing is the 3 R's. So the right message, to the right person, with the right offer. And then there are 2 different ways you can do these 3 R's, the 2 different approaches you can take to outreach. We do both of them simultaneously. The first one is intent-based outreach. So once you're posting content, you'll start to see people engaging and viewing your profile. These are 2 massive intent signals, people who are interested in what you're talking about, especially if you're posting that thought leadership content we mentioned in layer 2. What you want to be doing is mining your profile views, mining your engagement for key people in your ICP, your ideal customer profile. You're going to be finding people that you think you can work with, think you can help, and adding them into a big lead list. And there are 2 ways you can do this. You can do it manually in Sales Navigator, or you can do it with a tool like HeyReach, whatever other tools that do LinkedIn outreach. Let's say Sales Navigator for now. We're going to be going through all these people who've engaged in your content, viewed your profile. Simply reach out with a message that says, hi, I saw you view my profile. Is there anything I can help with, or are you just enjoying the content? That's my #1 highest performing outreach message when it comes to intent-based outreach. Then go to people engaging, find the specific post they engaged on, and say, hi, so you engaged in my post about this. Curious, is that something you're focused on right now? For me, for example, let's say I did a carousel talking about LinkedIn strategies. Might be 100 people who liked it. Let's say 20 of those are in my ICP. I can go through those 20 and say, hi, Helen, I saw you like my LinkedIn carousel on LinkedIn strategies. Is that something you're interested in right now? Is that something you're talking about internally right now? I'm simply starting that conversation. Those with that simple question opener will convert very, very highly to real conversations and sales into the business. The second approach is outreach at scale. So you can use a tool like HeyReach or Dripify for this, but essentially what you want to be doing is building a big lead list of people in your ICP and then optimizing a simple offer for them that you can send to them at scale. I like to talk about this in the 3 R's we talked about at the start. I said right people, right message, right offer. People think right offer means selling their service. What I mean by right offer is something that's a no-brainer for them to say yes to. So when it comes to at scale outreach, one thing we think about is like, what is a no-brainer that says yes to, which is a lower commitment than our actual service. For us, for example, people might not want to pay us thousands a month for their LinkedIn services. That's not probably the right offer to a cold audience. Instead, to a cold audience, we will deliver what we call a cold ready offer. For example, I might show them a case study that we got from one of our clients at Ocean Beach and say, hi, we've been working with Ocean Beach. They're a very similar company to yours for the last 6 months. We've delivered 50 million impressions over that 6-month period. We broke down the full strategy we used to do it. I think you could use it for yourselves. Do you mind if I send it over? Or are you against me sending it over? And probably 4 times out of 10, probably 40% will come back and say, yes, can you send that over? Another thing you can do is do it as a binary CTA. So what you can say is, hi, I know you're a very similar company to Ocean Beach. We got 50 million impressions for them over the last 6 months. I'm curious, I've got a deck breaking down the entire strategy. Would you want to jump on a call and go through it? Or I can just send it over in this chat. Because it's a call or sending it over, people often take the lowest effort option and just say, yeah, send it over. And that way you can start that conversation. You then follow up with, hi, send that deck over. Did you get a chance to look over it? Hi, send that deck. Do you think it'd be useful for you guys? Hi, send the deck. Is that something you're looking at right now internally as well? Boom, outreach. That's probably where 60-70% of our revenue comes from. Now, layer 4 is ads. And ads, I feel like, is that carrot at the end of the stick that a lot of people dangle when it comes to LinkedIn. There's two different sides of the coin. People say, oh, LinkedIn ads are so expensive and no one should use them. And there's other people that are like, just do ads, why waste your time on content? You can just pay to get in front of people. Both are essentially wrong when you think about it. My key thought is only use ads when you've got the other 3 layers right. When you're fully optimized when it comes to content, when you're fully optimized when it comes to outreach, when your positioning is absolutely nailed and you don't feel like you can scale LinkedIn outreach anymore, then you start to look at ads. But you have to have the other 3 performing, and they will perform. Don't say it doesn't work for my industry, don't say it doesn't work for me, doesn't work for who I'm targeting. We have worked with so many different industries, from healthcare to hospitality to finance. All of those 3 layers are so vital, and they do work and they do drive sales. You only move on to ads once you've nailed those first 3 layers. When you move on to ads, I'm going to show you a simple thing that's been working really, really well for a bunch of different clients when it comes to LinkedIn. It's thought leader ads and conversation ads. So a lot of people don't even know about thought leader ads right now, but thought leader ads are essentially where you can boost a post from someone in your team. For example, I can write a post explaining how we got all these results. Then you can literally run a thought leader ad, which looks like it's a post from me, just promoted and boosted to more people. But there's a few different ways people are doing this really, really cleverly. Instantly.ai recently ran a campaign where they got 15, I think it was, influencers in their space to write posts about how they use Instantly. And they then ran thought leader ads on all those 15 different influencers on LinkedIn. And what it felt like is that everyone on LinkedIn was shouting about how great Instantly was and their new product feature that they were promoting at the time. It's very, very clever. The second thing you can do though is you can retarget with conversation ads. So I said at the start that you always have to optimize for conversations, and that's why I like this retargeting with conversation ads. So let's say Instantly's campaign, they can put 15 different creatives out, which is posts from influencers, they can boost them, and then they can retarget everyone who saw that ad with a conversation starter ad, which is the perfect way to start conversations at scale. LinkedIn ads are expensive, but they also work. The key is to only use them once you are actually ready. You've already done all 3 layers of the pyramid. And that is the LinkedIn pyramid. I honestly think there's a massive opportunity with LinkedIn, and the businesses that capitalize on it, like ours, are going to get so many different benefits from it. We will genuinely do about £1 million in sales through LinkedIn, and that's a minimum. Like, we'll probably fly through it this year. And it's not to say we're amazing at sales, but we have some secret code. The biggest thing about that is it's a massive opportunity on LinkedIn, and we are capitalizing on it. This is also my first ever YouTube video on this channel. I'm going to share more about marketing on LinkedIn, what we're seeing working, what we're doing, what our clients are doing, and a bunch of different insights along the way. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm sure this video wasn't my best work, but there'll be more coming, and I'll get better and better with every video. I appreciate everyone that watched this far. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you next week.